Hello. Kamala Harris must not become president. She represents a peasant and property class society and individual rights, and we represent God and country, home economics with its huge middle class. Let me go back and remind myself of something. In the 1970s, when the women's liberation movement was getting started, when it happened to something like this. The husband still made enough money to support a wife and children, and when the gal first went out and got a job, she didn't have to worry about paying the gas and electric bill, so her income became part of the recreation budget or the consumption budget. And with that, they did things such as go out and buy a duplex and start renting out property to other people. And those people who normally could be able to afford to buy a house now have to rent. And there it is. That was the very beginning of the peasant and property class society, the lazy V. The lazy V, where the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. They threw out God, they had the sexual revolution, or malice, and they made money by causing people to have to work more hours. They caused poverty. In the Bible, that's considered one of the unforgivable sins. They couldn't care less. Well, let's go back to Kamala Harris. She says things that evidently are absolutely bizarre. She's one of the common folks, she says, and evidently that isn't true. She used to work at McDonald's, she says. She's a black gal, she says, and evidently shows a portrait of, well, what evidently turns out to be one of her childhood servants and that sort of thing. It just goes on and on. One of those famous TV judges that knew her when she was a prosecutor has very little to say about her. Evidently, she wasn't very good as a prosecutor. As far as knowledge goes, she dropped charges from groups that made large donations to her campaign, and she, for the most part, made her living on her back. The worst part comes with her ideology. She keeps quoting these bizarre phrases from Karl Marx, and the experts are screaming, you don't know what that means. She wants to push society to the point where it collapses, just like in the Soviet Union and China and lots of other places. And they starved people by the millions over there, and that's what she wants to do here. Let me remind myself that communism really isn't about such things as the state owning everything. It has to do with pushing the society until it completely collapses. Then they come in and take over and do it all over again. And quite frankly, they never really say where they want to end up. We were the ones that were doing things right. We were the ones that had the ideal society going, and they just trashed it all, or the post-World War II Americans did. And she just trashed it all. We have to do something about this. We better wake up to this. So what's wrong? They threw out God and country, straightening up our emotions, willing the good of another person, and making money by making somebody else better off. I'm a normal, well-adjusted person, a race relegated to an endearing quality of your parents. A man is a man and a woman is a woman. And then a good husband to a wife and a good father to the children and a good citizen. And then home economics. I picture a 1950s American household. I go off to the side. I start with farming and mining. Above that, manufacturing. Above that, wholesale, retail, and repair. And above that, retirement, education, and recreation. And the doctors and lawyers form a kind of ladder that holds it all together, and the priest is what causes it all to come into being to begin with. So what's wrong? They threw out God and country. What do I do about it? I go back to God and country. Let me say things my way. If I can't be a Yank without being officially Catholic, well then I'm officially Catholic, and then a Yank appears. No philosophical fancy pants me. How do we do it? Well, we enforce the laws. They used to say it over and over again, if you just enforce the laws, it would all work out, but they never did. And so we'll have to do just that. A word of warning, we're about to face people who are incredibly violent. They'll attack you before you even have a chance to think the thought, and we'll just have to man up and face that. So let's get our act together and get our gang together. And pass the word, please, and have them start listening in, and we'll ask ourselves, the plumber and the carpenter and our lawyers and our common housewife, they're the ones that are worth their weight in gold. And we'll ask ourselves just what we're supposed to do about this. See you tomorrow.